This radio show is a paid placement. Welcome to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. I'm Mark Elliott. Mindy McIntosh is the founder and president of McIntosh & Associates. Nolan McIntosh helps you with your market investments. And so some of the questions you might ponder: are you taking too much risk in your portfolio? Are you taking not enough risk? Are you taking the right amount of risk? Everybody's situation is different, so it's all about you when you come in and sit down with Mindy and Nolan to talk about your retirement. Because risk is a big concern for today's retirees. You can kind of look at Mindy as your safe person. How much income do I need? How do I get it? Will it last as long as I do? What about life and health insurance? How do we plan for some of those things down the road? Medicare. There's a lot of decisions to be made. How do we protect ourselves? And then Mindy and Nolan team up to help you with being more tax efficient moving forward. Like, when can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last as long as I do? Will my loved ones be okay if something happens to me? Really, at the end of the day, we just want to know, hey, Mindy, Nolan, if I retire, are we going to be okay? That's really what you want to know. And McIntosh & Associates are here to help you figure that out. All you have to do is give them a call to find out about where you are on your road to retirement. The number 877-222-8849. We'll give you that number throughout the program. But there's no cost, there's no obligation, there's no pressure. Hey, there's no judgment either. We're here to help you going forward. 877-222-8849. And if you just want to find out more about Nolan and Mindy, go to the website, wealthmichigan.com. wealthmichigan.com. Hey guys, how are you? You ready to go?
We are. Good morning, Mark.
All set. Pretty excited.
All right, today we're going to talk about 4 pillars. And I think, you think of the Capitol building, the Supreme Court, Mindy and Nolan's, what is it, an estate? Is that what we call it since you're out in the country? Can we call it an estate?
Yeah, I would.
Sure.
A mansion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Either way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Either way. So you think about those types of things because pillars are classic features of architecture. If you knock one out, though, the whole structure is in danger of toppling. And it can really be the same for retirement. So we're going to talk about the 4 pillars of all retirement plans. So, Mindy, what would those 4 pillars, when it comes to retirement planning, what would you say they are?
Yeah, I kind of call it your safe spot of your home. So everyone finds safety inside of their own personal home. So we want to talk about protection. So more than ever, folks are wanting to know, am I protected? And that's why it's nice to show the pillars of the house and having that firm foundation. We also want to make sure that there's growth potential there as we think about things like inflation and interest rate risk and, what might be dealing with the market returns today. So we also want to know, well, where is our income going to come from? And how do we make sure that we have a steady, stable income that's going to hedge some of the things that are happening in the world today to not have to worry about running out of money, but also making sure that item number 4, having liquidity to give you options. People like to have options, so it really helps them to have that broad approach of the protection.
Nolan, you think about the banking world, for example, out of those 4 things that Mindy said. The banking world can give us protection, it can give us income, and it can give us liquidity. It's not great for the growth world, right? Interest rates, as Mindy said, they're so low, we're not going to get much growth out of the bank. The insurance world, we can get protection, we can get growth, we can get income, but insurance world's a little bit more of a challenge with liquidity. The Wall Street world, well, we can get growth, we can get income, we can get liquidity, we're not going to get protection. So I think it's probably why you guys both work. Wealth Michigan is about the investment world and the insurance world because it's a blending of those worlds. And then everybody hopefully has a banking account, a checking account, a savings account, and the like. Is that kind of why you guys can work in the insurance world and the investment world, because it's about a blending of all those worlds to do all of those 4 pillars?
Well, you exactly said it right. If you went through that, you just noticed that you talked about, okay, this covers 3 out of the 4 points. This other one covers 3 of the other 4 points. And then the third option obviously covers 3 of the 4 points. So the point being is, from a holistic approach, if you don't have it, you have 75% coverage. Well, I don't think anybody wants to have a home insurance or health insurance that says, yeah, we'll cover about 75% of whatever you're going through at this point in time. So really, for us, that's the important piece of the puzzle, is that you have to have 100% coverage, and that's why you blend those types of portfolio mixtures together, so that way you have all 4 covered, not just 3 of them.
So the question is, how do you even know if you're covering those 4 pillars that we're talking about: protection, growth, income, liquidity? Because they're all important, and you don't want to miss any of those, as Nolan said. If you're not really sure how your portfolio is set up, And that's where the dream-focused wealth plan that Mindy and Nolan can put together for you, and it's going to have income strategies, investment strategies, tax-efficient strategies, healthcare, legacy, estate planning, Social Security is in the income part, Medicare is in the healthcare part. That's a lot of moving parts. If you have questions about that, you're like, wow, I never thought about all those different layers of retirement. 877-222-8849 is the number to talk with the team at Wealth Michigan. Easy. There's no cost. There's no obligation. So there's no risk to you other than it's a little bit of your time. If you call them, maybe it's a 15, 30-minute phone call. You come in, maybe you sit down with them for a half an hour to an hour or so. But I think it's worth your time. 877-222-8849. Glad you're with us today for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. I'm Mark Elliott. We're talking about the 4 pillars of retirement, really. So, Mindy, when you think about those areas, they're pretty different. They're kind of diverse goals, if you will. How can one plan, the dream-focused wealth plan, how does it address all 4 of these areas?
Well, the nice thing is it's not a one-size-fits-all, right? So, the question is definitely based on client by client. So it's not the same for everyone. And so what's so important is that usually we see, clients wanting some sort of combination, right? So they want protection, but they want to be able to have some liquidity with it too. But that income piece, I'm telling you, that is the most important overall when we see folks coming in. They want to know, do I have enough income? Am I going to be okay? Can I sustain living the next 30 years of retirement with advancements in medicine, but also the changes in the world and, different environments that we're in today? So not that we just focus on that one, but once we can help to solve their need there, you just kind of see how relaxed that they are to say, you know what? If we can solve this income, the rest can kind of fit into play with different varieties of patterns and pathways that we can do here at the office.
And Nolan, I do think it's interesting because I would imagine you probably have some clients that need 10, 15 grand a month. That's where their number comes in, what they need to maintain their lifestyle. You have others that maybe need 3,000 to 6,000 a month. Right? So everybody's different. I would think that's kind of one of the challenges when you build retirement plans is you have to get to know whomever you're sitting down with before you start coming up with a plan, right?
Oh, 100%. So for us, we live in Michigan, right? Detroit cost of living is much different than where we live. Mindy and I live here in Freeland. The cost of living is different. So it's going to cost just more for your daily lifestyle than it would be if you live in somewhere else. So that's part of it. Second thing we have to look at is assets, right? The asset lineup. If somebody doesn't have enough assets to be able to do certain things, then we have to make sure we keep liquidity there. So that's why from a person-to-person basis, it's so different. That's what makes our job fun. And for us, that's why we love what we do is because every client that walks in our doors has to have a custom-tailored plan based on what they're going to be needing in their retirement.
One of the things I do think, and this will be kind of, we'll wrap up our first segment and we'll get moving on. We'll get down into all these pillars a little bit deeper, protection, growth, income, and liquidity. We'll talk about each one of those individually. But to me, Nolan, one of the challenges is when somebody comes in, whether it's an individual or it's a married couple, is that we don't know how long they're going to live, right? We don't know if they're both going to live to 100, one lives to 95, one lives to 75. We don't know that. We don't know if they're going to have health issues either. Health is one of the biggest challenges in retirement. If you have a health situation and you're not prepared for it or you need long-term care, holy cow. I mean, there's so many parts that you don't know. So when you create that dream-focused wealth plan, I'm guessing it's not really written in pen. Maybe it's in pencil, but we've got an idea, and you talk about some of those what-ifs, I would imagine.
Well, we do. We talk about the what-ifs, but I'll be honest with you. The clients are very confident when they leave our office that they know what the plan is. They came in without a plan. We kind of talk about the junk drawer at your house where you have all these different investments and we're trying to figure out where that plan comes together and straighten out that junk drawer. Well, we do that in the investment world. And so that's the biggest thing is that they know that they have a plan that for the what ifs, right? That's the biggest thing we're trying to take out. We know that life changes. There's no doubt about that. If we can take some of those what ifs out, it definitely makes them feel a lot more calm. So we know where their income's coming from. We know where, their kind of what we call their play money is coming from. And we know, obviously, what's going on with their health. And so since we do that all in office, it makes it really easy for us to give them that well-rounded plan that they really feel confident.
So when you sit down with a team at Wealth Michigan, here's how it works. There's the first meeting, and typically it starts with a phone call, right? You just call them up and go, hey, here's my situation. Do you think you can help? because it's a two-way street. You're the CEO, it's your retirement, and then you look at Mindy and Nolan and the team at McIntosh and Associates as your CFO, your chief financial officer. But it starts with a phone call. Then when you come in and sit down with the team, it's a discovery meeting. What are you going to do? What's your perfect day in retirement? How are you going to live? What's your lifestyle like? How much income do you need? Those kind of questions. Then they will take your information and they'll do an analysis of it, come up with a solution for you, and then you put it into play. Right? And it's not in stone because things happen. There's no question about it. And so it's always being updated. It's always being updated. So this is not a call them, you've got a plan, good luck to you. No, this is a long-term relationship, if you will, with the team at McIntosh and Associates. They're here for you to help you really be able to put your head on the pillow at night and feel pretty good about things. There's no guarantees. We all get that. 877-222-8849. 877-222-8849. Again, there's no cost, there's no obligation, and there's no pressure for this. The team is here to help you, if they can. 877-222-8849. We're talking about the 4 pillars: protection, growth, income, liquidity. We're going to break them down a little bit more individually right after this. Stay with us. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes.
According to the U.S. debt clock, in the time you hear this commercial, our nation's debt will go up by $1.5 million. That's $2 billion a day, $15 billion a week. Right now, our debt is more than $30 trillion and climbing fast. The question is, how do we pay it off? The answer is increasing taxes. Now, think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now, when rates are historically low, or later, when rates are potentially higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Mindy and Nolan McIntosh and the team at McIntosh and Associates know what to look for. Mindy and Nolan can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 877-222-8849 to set up a visit with Mindy and Nolan McIntosh and McIntosh and Associates. That's 877-222-8849. Firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Get started today to develop your own dream-focused wealth plan with the team at McIntosh and Associates. Schedule a complimentary first visit today. Call 877-222-8849.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Nolan and Mindy. Glad you're with us. Mindy, of course, the founder and president of McIntosh and Associates. Nolan, besides helping you with your market and tax situations, Nolan is here if you have any physical ailments. Because, don't forget, Nolan worked in the PT and athletic training world for quite some time before joining Mindy and the team. He's got a master's and or doctorate. Hey, not a master's. How about a doctorate in physical therapy? So I think really it could be protection, growth potential, income, liquidity, because we're talking about the 4 pillars, but also physical therapy if you need it. All right, we're talking about the 4 pillars, things that we all need to some degree. I mean, it's all different because it's all about each individual or each couple that the team at McIntosh and Associates sits down with, because everybody's situation is different. But those 4 pillars are that we need for a sturdy retirement: protection, growth, income, and liquidity. And obviously, if you knock out one of those, it really can impact your retirement. So, Mindy, let's start with protection. I guess, what are we trying to protect from?
So the nice thing is we really need to give protection. What if, you become ill? So one big thing is if someone becomes ill or needs to go into a nursing home and needs some sort of long-term care, just because someone has a medical condition, I do not want that to absolutely derail your retirement plan because someone was sick. So protection is key when it comes to how do we help plan for the day that may come, right? So we plan for the worst, but hope for the best. We hope you never need it, but if you do, let's make sure we have a solid foundation plan set in place, not only for income and safety and security, but to give you help should you need to use that long-term care in the future.
And there's a lot of challenges. One of the biggest risks to retirement is longevity. The longer we're here, the more market downturns we're going to go through, maybe the more health issues, the more elections and all of that. The longer we're here, we're just going to have more challenges. And it can be a great thing. If you have health and you have the wealth to do what you want, then it's phenomenal. But you think about taxes, Nolan, right now, it seems to me that's one of the bigger concerns. We know the Trump tax law, January 1 of 2018, runs through December 31st of 2025. But if the Biden administration does nothing with taxes, they're certainly talking about raising taxes. But if they do nothing, we know that January 1st of 2026, we revert back to the 17 tax brackets. So how do we protect our savings from paying too much into taxes? And people go, well, I can't set the tax brackets. That's not me. That's Congress and the IRS. They're setting my brackets and all of that. But there's ways to plan for taxes, right? To control them to a degree, I would think.
You're right. We know it's coming. Even if they don't do anything like you said, they will revert back to their normal levels, and that's going to be a bigger tax bill. So that's something we need to plan for, is that if we have a lot of money in what we call pre-taxed entities, your 401ks or your IRAs, you don't get to keep all of that. And so that can make a significant difference on what your income looks like possibly in the future if the government's your biggest partner. So really, our biggest thing that we're looking at currently is that it's kind of preparing for a hurricane versus a tornado, right? We're familiar with tornadoes in Michigan. Tornadoes we really can't prepare for. We know taxes are going to probably go up from here, so it's a hurricane coming. So if we can start looking at tax situations now, help you save on some of those, that could be through several different avenues, whether it be Roth conversions or even what we call fixed index universal life policies. That may be a way we can weather the tax storm because we know it's coming.
You think about your 401ks and IRAs. Yeah, I think about my grandparents, retired in the 70s. So their biggest asset was their home because they didn't have a 401k. 401ks didn't come to be until the early 80s. They were voted in like 1978, really went into practice in the early 80s. So that's where everybody saves now if you're not lucky enough to have a pension. So your 401k money, your IRA money has never been taxed. So all of that money now in today's world, would you say, Mindy, that you have people come in that their biggest asset larger than their home would be 401ks and IRAs? That does happen, doesn't it?
It sure does. And the biggest thing with that being their largest asset is taking a look at, wow, how do we actually turn some of this into now income, right? You go from accumulation phase, working age, accumulating wealth, paying down debt, raising children, into more of a distribution phase. And that distribution phase, we need to carve out a portion to give you those guarantees, right? And we need to hedge things such as increasing cost of healthcare throughout the year. That's such a huge inflationary number. So by using some of the funds to move into a proper direction, we can help to hedge that, give you increasing income in retirement. And there's some vehicles that we can definitely use to do this for clients.
Yeah, so you think about healthcare challenges, and the numbers say something like 70% of us will need some form of long-term care. That doesn't mean you're going to a nursing home, and it doesn't mean you're going to be hit with that $100,000 bill every year to live. It just means you're going to need some assistance. So long-term care, it's really kind of one of the crazier stats when you think about it. Home insurance, we basically all have it, right? And about 3% of us will have a claim. We all have car insurance. About 18% of us will have a claim when it comes to our car insurance. But most of us don't have any long-term care protection, and 70% of us might need some form of that. So you do have to have a plan for all of this, and taxes are a big, big question mark right now going forward, especially because today's retirees have so much money that hasn't been taxed yet in that IRA and 401k bucket. You have questions about these areas. Boy, I don't know how to plan for that. Well, Mindy and Nolan do this every day. They're here to help. 877-222-8849 is the number if you'd like to talk a little bit more about it, whether it's taxes, whether it's healthcare, whether it's both of those areas. Both are huge areas in retirement planning. 877-222-8849. And again, if you'd like to just find out more about Nolan and Mindy and the team at McIntosh & Associates, we always encourage you to check out their website, wealthmichigan.com, wealthmichigan.com. I'm Mark Elliott here with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. We're talking about the 4 pillars of retirement. There is protection, growth, income, and liquidity that we all need in our plans, and everybody needs a certain different, I guess you could say a little bit different levels. So, Nolan, in the investment world, I think a lot of people think, hey, my 401k or my IRAs, I'm just going to live off that, right? It's all about my investments. That is my plan. But the investment world's important, but it's not the plan, right?
Oh, I agree. I mean, the point being with that is that we see a lot of people when they come in, particularly 401ks, right? They set those when they're maybe in their 30s and they've kept the same risk that they're supposed to, they thought they were supposed to be in, and they've never touched it. And now they're in retirement and like, oh, I'm just going to live off these funds, not knowing that if we're drawing down on assets when the market dips like it did last year, that depletes it pretty quickly. And we can show how that happens, 2 different scenarios on somebody that retired in the 90s versus somebody that retired in the 2000s, right? How one person depleted their assets, the other person didn't. And so that's part of it is making sure, number one, risk is where it's supposed to be in retirement, and then obviously creating that protection amount so that way we can have that stable income and you don't have to worry about the market influence. So it's getting back to those 4 pillars. You need to have all 4 of them because you really need to make sure that in case there's an emergency that you can get access to some of those monies, and that's what the market allows you to do.
Yeah, you think about it. If you're pulling 5% out of your market monies for retirement and the market goes down 20, well, that means you just pulled out 25%. So That's really the challenge. And you think about growth, Mindy, when we're putting this retirement plan together. I think most people think of growth. They think of the investments in the Wall Street world. That's where I can grow my money. I can't grow it anywhere else. You know, my grandparents in the 70s, you just put money in a CD, ladder them, and get 8, 10, 12%. Pretty simple time to create income from the safe world. And now they're going, well, the only way I can grow money is I have to be all in the market. Are there options that maybe can be a little bit more safe and protected to grow your money?
There sure are. So there's options to go ahead and remove some funds from your market account. Go ahead and let it do what's called a participation with indexes without directly being in the market. By doing that, it gives you the potential to have more growth than obviously leaving it in the bank or putting it into a CD. And what happens is over time, creating that safety and giving you an increasing income option with some of these, what we call indexed annuities that are available, it can help to increase income through retirement. That can help to hedge inflation. It can help to take a look at the increased cost of healthcare. And it gives you that guaranteed income segment that you might be looking for. So people can't just continue to live off the same Social Security check for 30 years. So just like that, it actually should help to increase and continue to give you a higher and higher paycheck any year that there's a positive index return. So the nice thing is that it gives them the availability to say, hey, we're going to have some safety, we're going to have protection, but let's also have the availability to see market participation with growth potential and future increases in your income.
You know, and if you find somebody that comes in to sit down with the team at McIntosh and Associates, certainly there are people that have already won the game, and it's really about protection. There are others, though, that still need growth to be able to retire successfully. So I guess, Nolan, how do we balance that? Because growth, to me, seems a little bit riskier than the protection side, but probably we all need a little bit of each. So how do you kind of balance that when growth is maybe taking some risk, protection is lessening that risk? How do you find a balance?
Well, you know, that's on a person-to-person basis as well, right? We're not, you know, what we call captive agents. We deal with anything that we want to because we're independent. So therefore, we can go out there and diversify our portfolios any way we see fit. So that's the nice part about it is that really it is risk, right? We have to look at from the personal standpoint of how you feel about risk. And so that's where we get our growth from. Now, depending on what we need, right, for growth, we can't guarantee anything, obviously, in the market ever, but, you know, obviously the more risky we're going to be, the more chance we have of obviously potential of making better gains there, and the less risk we have, the more principal possible that we can help protect, but at the same time, we're not going to grow as much. So really, it's on a basis of client per client and really what the risk is. That's the feeling is that a lot of people feel like they come in and I have not done a good job, you know, I'm kind of late to the start. And we kind of go through that plan with them saying, well, you know, maybe you're not as bad or maybe you're better than what you thought or things of that nature. But it's one of those things that they really don't know until they sit down with us.
Yeah, you think about it. I think it's kind of a cool thing that can happen at time to time at McIntosh and Associates. Somebody comes in and goes, boy, Mindy, Nolan, I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to retire. You give them all your portfolio stuff, your information, and they look at it and go, holy cow, you could have retired 5 years ago. You've won the game. Now there's others that they might have to say, you know what, I know you'd like to retire in 2022, but 2023 or 2024 might be a little bit better for you. So there are both ends to the spectrum. The challenge is, how do you come up with a plan for you? 877-222-8849. Again, no cost for this. They're here to help. They just don't know if they can help till they hear your situation. 877-222-8849. If you'd like to chat about your situation, where are you? How much growth do I need? How much protection do I need? What about income and liquidity and all of that? Because it really starts with income when it comes down to retirement. Do you have enough to replace those paychecks? 877-222-8849. Stay with us. We're going to talk about the other two areas of these 4 pillars, income and liquidity, when we come back. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntosh.
If you're close to retirement, you probably hear about Medicare all the time. When to sign up, how to sign up, what your options are. But have you heard how you might be able to lower your future Medicare costs with proper planning before you retire? It's true. The McIntosh and Associates team can show you how. It's not for everyone, but you could potentially save in future Medicare premiums. See if this strategy could work for you. Call McIntosh and Associates now to set up your visit to start working on your plan. 877-222-8849. That's 877-222-8849. If you want to pay the lowest price for your future Medicare coverage, start planning today. Set up your visit now with the McIntosh and Associates team. Call 877-222-8849. Firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Medicare open enrollment begins October 15th. If you have questions about your current plan or starting a new one, call the team at McIntosh and Associates, 877-222-8849.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan, here to help you. And, of course, serving the Tri-City area. They're located in Freeland, but they obviously serve Saginaw Bay City and Midland and all areas in between. They're here to help you come up with a plan and a strategy for retirement. And don't forget, your 401k, your IRAs, your real estate if you have it, life insurance if you have it, whatever tools you have in your retirement tool belt, that is not a plan. Those are tools. So do you know you have the right tools? What's the purpose of that real estate you have? What's the purpose of that 401k? What's the purpose of that IRA? What's it supposed to do for you in retirement? That's a bigger question. And the team at McIntosh & Associates certainly here to help you. If you have questions, it's 877-222-8849. There's no cost to chat with the team. 877-222-8849. If you'd like to find out more about Nolan and Mindy, you can always go to the website, wealthmichigan.com. We're talking today about the four pillars that we all need to some degree. Everybody's situation is different. Some might need more growth. Some might need more protection. Some might need more income. Some might need less income. And some might need different levels and maybe have comfort levels with liquidity. Hey, I've got $100,000 in the bank because that's what I want. That's where I'm comfortable. Others would be thrilled to have 10 grand in the bank, right? Everybody's situation is different. So we're talking about these four pillars for that really sturdy retirement: protection, growth, income, liquidity. But Mindy, as you said, really it starts with income. Income is really the basic pillar, I guess you could say, for which every other pillar is served to support. So where do most people get their income for retirement?
So most folks think that their income, they were working. Now that's going to go to zero. And now they're wondering, okay, well, I guess my only form of income is Social Security. And I guess do I need to do that now? Do I need to do that later? When do I actually turn on Social Security? So that is an analysis that we actually look at with folks. We look at things such as longevity risk and their health and other funds that they have available. So income should really come when the day is done, depending on timing, Social Security and income from a reliable source. So whether it's a income coming from what's called an indexed annuity or a fixed index universal life, those are two sources of what we call more on the guaranteed or safe side of receiving income inside of retirement.
Let's go back to Social Security for a second. Nolan, do you find a lot of people kind of make up their mind, hey, I'm going to retire, so I'm going to take my Social Security right now. I don't know if it's going to be there that long, so I'm going to just go ahead and get it while I can get it. And then others might retire because, hey, at 65, I get Medicare, so I'm going to retire there. And they kind of base it on the government programs. And I don't know. I mean, the government can do some nice things for us, I suppose, but I don't know if I want to base my retirement on the government programs. That seems to be a little bit of a challenge. But Social Security, how do you help people with that?
Well, that is exactly it. You kind of touched on it, is that some people think you turn 62, you just turn it on, whether they're working or not working, and they don't know the ramifications of that. There possibly could be reductions in Social Security. There could be more taxes paid on Social Security. So that's our job, is to help walk through that. We have a software that we use to say, okay, planning. And again, there is some opinions, right? I mean, based on what we look at for longevity in the family. And some people are just like you said, hey, I paid into Social Security all my life. I'm taking it as soon as I can get it. That's one way to look at it. But ultimately, we really want to make sure that you're educated, right, on when the best option for you to draw your Social Security is. Some of it is because we have to use it for income, right? We have no options, and so when you retire, we need to use that for income. Some people have options, right? If they have sufficient amount of income that they're using from other assets, then we let that Social Security grow at 8% every year. I mean, guaranteed 8%. So that's really what we look at, is just on a person-by-person basis.
It is really interesting, though, because Social Security, when you lose a spouse, and I think a lot of people go, which obviously is going to be one of the most traumatic things ever. I mean, you're married 30, 40, 50 years and a spouse passes away. And the only thing that stays, because Social Security is one of those things that you can only leave to a spouse. It's not going to be able to pass down. So that also factors into when Mindy and Nolan think you should take Social Security as well. But when you pass away, the lower of the two Social Securities goes away, you keep the higher. Pension, maybe you're lucky enough to have a pension, but maybe you got it before you ever got married and you signed for just you to be able to be the recipient of that, or it's 50% or it's 25%. So there could be a reduction in that area as well. And then the government says, hey, congratulations, you were married 40, 50 years, but we're not going to tax you as an individual, not as a married couple. So your taxes just went up. So there's a lot of ways to get hammered a little bit that we don't really understand. And that's why Mindy and Nolan are happy to sit down and talk with you about your specific situation. When should you start Social Security? Should you stagger it? Odds are very unlikely that you're both going to pass away on the same day. So that means it's really about the surviving spouse. How do we help them as well? There's a lot of moving parts here, and it's one of those things there's no reason to wait. You put a plan in place, things happen, we adjust the plan. 877-222-8849 is the number to talk with the team at McIntosh & Associates about where you are on your road to retirement. 877-222-8849. Now, this final pillar, we've talked about protection, we've talked about growth, we just talked about income, and income is really where it all starts. How do you replace those paychecks that are no longer coming in? So income is kind of the place where it all starts. Can I retire? When can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last? That's kind of an income part. But liquidity is one of those interesting areas, Mindy, I think, because there are people that want to have $100,000 just sitting in the savings account. There are people that are like thrilled if they can get to $10,000. Do you think the pandemic last year, because of the layoffs and people getting furloughed and all of that, are like, holy cow, things can change in a hurry. Boy, I need a little bit better cash reserve. I need some emergency fund savings. Do you think the liquidity end maybe took a bump up, that people thought it was more important because of the pandemic?
Absolutely. I think that people really realized that in a heartbeat, things can change drastically, and not just for a week or two, right? So this has really drug on for a while, and it really taught folks that our whole philosophy has always been a minimum of 3 to 6 months of income inside of your emergency fund. Now, in retirement, I like that to be, more than that, right? So I like to see that 6 to 12 months as a buffer, just to have right there and know that you have the security to know that tomorrow can change. And what if you need to put on new shutters, or you need new windows, or a new roof repair, or new roof on your home? How do we make sure that without having to adjust your account entirely, it's just a buffer there? We know, yes, this is what we're going to use for that. Now children need help. So it's very, very important to make sure that everyone starts with a plan at any age. Get that 3 to 6 months. Many more people today have that now than ever. They've just become to the realization that, you know what, we must prepare.
Couldn't go anywhere, so we saved some money. That's kind of one of the positives of the whole thing. And
it is.
I would think the emergency fund level it's still, though, I mean, I get 6 to 12 months. I think that's fantastic. But it also is a personal preference, too, I suppose. What they're comfortable with, would that be fair to say?
Comfort levels, yes. So many retirees are comfortable with much more than that, many more folds than what they need. And then it's a little bit of a different conversation of saying, okay, well, are you giving up some money due to inflation and cost of living by letting, your dollar devalue just sitting in the bank? So it does teeter both ways. Every client has a little bit more flexibility, but some might be comfortable with 3 to 6. Some might want 6 to 12, and some might want 5 years.
And I think, and Mindy, I'm going to ask you this again, because Nolan was off in the PT world helping people and helping athletes get better and come back from knee surgeries and all of that. You started your company, McIntosh & Associates, in 2004. And I think this is really interesting. In 2007 to 2009, the Great Recession. So March of 2009 was when we came out of it. Then March of 2020 was really the next big market downturn. There was volatility along the way. But back in 2008, people are going, holy cow, my 401k is now a 201k. I am never going to be able to retire. The pandemic hits in 2020, and people are like, I don't have anything guaranteed to me. I'm retiring now. It was a different mindset. Did you see that? I mean, back when you started your company, 2008, I'm never going to be able to retire because I just lost half my money because of the Great Recession. And then in 2020, I'm going, I think I can go ahead and retire. I think I'm going to try it. Mindy, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. We saw that so much. Some folks just were nervous, right? Or they just said, you know what? I've been thinking about this for years. And hey, could we retire now? When we take a look at either having to work in current work environment, COVID actually as a whole. They just said, hey, is this a good time? Can we make it work? Can we retire now? We saw that more than ever. And folks just said, you know what? I need to stop putting off till tomorrow, until tomorrow again, and realize that these things can happen. And it took a pandemic, but a lot of folks actually moved into retirement during that timeline for many, many reasons.
So you think about it. I think it was about 1.5 million people retired in 2019, over 3 million, I think, and those are ballpark figures in 2020 because they're like, holy cow, I'm going to enjoy whatever time I have left. Well, think about your portfolio. Think about your 401ks and IRAs. Do you have income built into those? Do you know where your income is going to come from when you get into retirement? What about growth? Inflation is going to be a factor, and it doesn't matter if the inflation rates are high or low, but you need growth, right? There's no question. You need growth because things are going to cost more down the line. Well, how do you protect things as well? And then liquidity, how much do you need? How much do you feel comfortable with? Do you need to build that fund up a little bit? There's just a lot of moving parts. The team at McIntosh & Associates are here to help you with all of these areas. 877-222-8849 is the number. 877-222-8849. They'd love to sit down with you and find out if they can help. And so that starts with a phone call. You just have a little conversation, 15, 30-minute phone call. And then maybe you want to just go ahead and say, hey, I want to come in and sit down with you and let's get started. I'm going to retire in a couple years or 5 years. Let's get this plan started. 877-222-8849. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes.
To learn more about the team at McIntosh & Associates, check out their website anytime at wealthmichigan.com.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. I'm Mark Elliott. You can find out more about the team. There's some great information on the website. They do a lot of different things for their clients and obviously for prospective clients. You can find out more on the website, wealthmichigan.com, wealthmichigan.com. If you have any questions, concerns, 877-222-8849 is the number. There's no cost to chat with the team. They're here to help, 877-222-8849. And, of course, Mindy, your favorite time of the year, open enrollment, October 15th through December 7th. It happens every single year. So one of the challenges for Medicare, because my mom's 84, and where I was talking to her last year, said, hey, it's open enrollment for Medicare. Are you going to go look and see if you're in the right places and all that? I've never thought of that. I've just always just kept it the same. I mean, do people realize the opportunity that's here and there's no doctors needed to, if they want to change something? I mean, how do you look at this?
So kind of two sides to that story, so to speak, I guess. So one client we had in earlier this week was talking about, no, I really like my plan. I like what's set up for me on what's called a Medicare Advantage plan he has. Renewals are looking good. Do I really have to re-enroll and re-update every year between October 15th and December 7th? No, you don't. If you like your plan, you can let that roll right into the next calendar year and the next calendar year. It's just good to talk about what has changed. What is the outlook moving forward? And is there any recommendations of plan moves? On the other side, I had a woman in my office crying by the time that she left. She literally had been on the same. She had Medicare early due to a disability. So she's been on Medicare since 2008. She came in, her insurance premium on her Medicare supplemental plan has gone up fivefold. So she's an individual on a very limited budget and a limited set amount of income, paying over $500 a month on her Medicare supplemental plan. And by the time that she left, she's actually turning 65 in about a month here. So we were able to make some updates to her plan that will start prior to the end of the year. She's going to not only be reducing her premium multifold to less than $50 a month, but also even if she had a very, very rough year, let's say, and something unexpected majorly came up with her medical bills for this year, she still couldn't spend the amount of medical copays that was amounting to just her premium alone on her current plan, and many other added features. So we just use her one example. She's significantly changing her cost. It will change her lifestyle or just her sense of being every month. She was so happy when she left, just knowing, oh my goodness, I'm going to have these added services. And she was very worried about being able to continue paying her premium.
So there's tears of joy.
They were tears of joy. She was so happy, just wondering, like, I just didn't know how I was going to even be able to renew this plan into 2022. And so she was just in tears saying, oh my goodness, this is just going to be so much easier on a monthly basis to be able to afford moving forward. So if any of you are feeling like, gosh, my Medicare plan is just getting expensive, really, could I look at other options? Please rely on me doing this for the past almost 20 years and reach out to our office here at McIntosh and Associates. You can schedule via our website. You can stop by the office and schedule with the team. I'd love to be able to meet or discuss any of you that are looking at what might Medicare look like for 2022. And we'll kind of take a look, see what might happen, and both leave on a happy note at the end of the meeting.
It didn't cost the lady anything. I mean, that's the biggest thing, too, is that people think that, again, I think I've mentioned it before, that it costs them extra if they use an agent to be able to pick out these plans, and it does not cost anything extra. The insurance carrier themselves are who pay the agent themselves, not the plan. And so, therefore, with us being a private firm and not being captive by anybody, we can use any insurance company in the state of Michigan to help and hopefully reduce maybe some costs and look at everything instead of you trying to weed through it on your own. So it doesn't cost anything, just your time, which I think obviously can cost or can save you some money, which is kind of a big deal. So again, like Mindy said, give us a call, 877-222-8849. Love to be able to help you out.
And you can always go to the website to find out more as well, wealthmichigan.com. The team at McIntosh & Associates are here to help you. 877-222-8849, 877-222-8849.
McIntosh & Associates Incorporated is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM. AEWM and McIntosh & Associates Incorporated are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. McIntosh & Associates Incorporated is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by McIntosh & Associates Incorporated.